So a very good evening, and today is the last lecture of breathing and respiration. Today we will cover different diseases, that is the occupational diseases with regarding to the breathing and respiration chapter. Those occupational diseases that has been given by the NCERT, we'll cover those, and I will give the mind maps of the whole chapter so that before the exam you get a precise and a small content to memorize in the last few hours of the exams. Okay, so today we will start from the occupational diseases and we will end with the mind maps. Okay, so let's start. Disorders. Give the topic as disorders. Disorders. Disorders regarding occupational diseases and environments. Okay, the first is the asthma. Give the heading as asthma. 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 So asthma is an allergic disorder. Allergic disorders happens when there is a huge secretion of histamine. Histamine is secreted from the basophil cells of the WBC. So whenever large quantity of histamine is secreted due to a foreign body invasion, so we call it as allergy. It is an immunological response from the body. Okay, so asthma is an allergic disorder. Okay, now this may be due to exposure of pollen जो ग्रेन होता है ना, जो फॉल्स में ऑटम में जो फूल का जो पोलन होता है वो हवा में उड़ती है और जिसका बहुत सेंसिटिव होता है, किस आदमी बहुत धूला से, स्मोक से, डस्ट से, पोलन से बहुत सेंसिटिव होता है, उसका क्या रनिंग नोज आ जाता है. रनिंग नोज, स्नीजिंग starts very frequently. So what we give antihistaminic drugs to those people, those who suffer from the allergy. Okay, many antihistaminic drugs are deslorotadine, fexofenadine, levocetirizine, cetirizine are all antihistaminic drugs. Okay, maybe due to the exposure of pollen. Animal dander, एनिमल का जो डॉग का फर है उसमें भी होता है. एनी वेजिटेबल, some people have allergy with brinjal. Okay, some people have allergy with sulfur drugs, some people have allergy with seafoods. Okay, vegetable, there is an inflammatory response. Inflammatory response. So inflammatory response कैसे होता है? Redness, itching, swelling, itching, warm. Okay, we give RX medication as levocetirizine, fexofenadine, deslorotadine, cetirizine, and in emergency cases we can administer adrenaline, but in emergency cases. Okay, so asthma shows inflammation as well as in the wall of the asthma shows inflammation in the wall of bronchi and bronchioles. Okay, narrowing the passage. When the inflammation happens, let it be the passage, and this is the passage. Okay, if inflammation occurs here, the passage will get narrower. Okay, so now let it be the passage, small passage of the bronchi and bronchioles. If inflammation occurs, the passage will get narrower. Thus, what happens? The passage for passing the air reduces, so hypoxia triggers. So we feel lack of oxygen, we feel lack of breath, that is we call hypoxia. Okay, now spasm in smooth muscle, spasm in smooth muscle of bronchi and bronchioles, spasm in the smooth muscle of bronchi and bronchioles. Okay, so prolonged contraction happens here, prolonged contraction happens here. So if an untreated asthma is kept for a long duration, that is it becomes chronic, we call it as COPD, untreated asthma, chronic disorder for a long period of time, it may cause COPD. COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Okay, so to get rid of asthma, we need to wear mask. So in COVID, we have also seen the usage of mask. So in case of asthmatic people, they must wear mask. Okay, and in case of COPD, we need to give deriphyllin. Some steroids can be also be given, salbutamol, levosalbutamol. These are the bronchodilators. Salbutamol and levosalbutamol are the bronchodilator. This is your pharmacy, and the medicine you will get it in the MBBS. This is not your Neet topics. If I start with this, then time will be wasted right now. Okay. Now we come to the next topic as emphysema. Only these two are given on your NCRT. Check it. Emphysema. Give a topic as emphysema. Emphysema. What is emphysema? Emphysema, it's a chronic disorder happens due to excessive smoking. Okay, excessive smoking. What happens? Alveolar wall gets damaged. Surface area for exchange of gases reduced. Proper diffusion will not occur. It feels always. Lungs are full of air. Okay, so in case of emphysema, we see the patient complains as मेरा सांस लेने का दिक्कत हो रही है और सांस नहीं ले पा रहे हैं, तो इसका मतलब है कि एल्वियोलाई जो है ना, जो जहाँ से डिफ्यूजन होता है वो डैमेज हो जाता है। ये डैमेज होने के बाद बहुत सारा एल्वियोलाई जब डैमेज हो जाता है तो ये प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है इन स्मोकर्स और इस पेशेंट्स को, ठीक है। सो if someone keeps smoking for a long period of time, so what happens, this emphysema happens. Okay. Next we come to the mind maps. Okay, now we come to the mind maps. What are the mind maps? Mind maps are the gist of this chapter that will be given by me, and these mind maps will very much beneficial before the exam days. Okay, now give the topic as mind maps. Gist. Okay, so from the start of the chapter it comes with respiratory organs. So respiratory organs, yes, okay. Just draw a flow chart. I need a scale, please wait. Okay, so in the respiratory organs, okay, what it comes as lower, I'm writing in small, lower invertebrates, such as, that is, sponges, coleopterats, coelenterata, breathe via entire body surface. Okay, they breathe via entire body surface. Okay, now in earthworms, okay, in earthworms, writing in different color, in earthworms use what the earthworm uses their moist cuticle, and insects have a network of tubes, insects have a network of tubes to transport atmospheric air within the body, Okay, now the next is the aquatic arthropods. That is aquatic arthropods. What is the aquatic arthropods does? Aquatic arthropods, like prawns and crustaceans, and mollusks. What happens? They use the vascularized structure, vascularized structures and called the gills. vascularized structures को क्या बोलते हैं हम? गिल्स बोलते हैं, ठीक है। गिल्स आर, these are called the branchial respiration. Okay, now we come to the next. We come to the next, the vascularized bags called lungs, the pulmonary respiration. Okay, now the vascularized bags called lungs used by the terrestrial forms. Terrestrial means those who live on land, terrestrial forms. Okay, and the last one is the vertebrates. What the vertebrates use? What the vertebrates used? Okay, among vertebrates, fishes use gills, amphibian reptiles, birds, mammals use lungs. Frogs can respire through their skin. That is called cutaneous respiration. Okay. So now come to the human respiratory system. Okay. Now give the heading as human respiratory system. These are the mind maps. These are the gist of the chapter. Human respiratory system. Okay. In the human respiratory system, so passage of air starts from external nostrils, then it goes to nasal passage, then it goes to nasal chamber, then it goes to pharynx, that is called the nasopharynx, then it goes to laryngopharynx, then it goes to larynx region in trachea, From the larynx region in trachea divides at fifth vertebral level. Trachea divides at T5, that is thoracic 5 vertebral level में trachea divides हो जाता है, bifurcates हो जाता है. Trachea divides at T5 level. Okay, now into left and right primary bronchi, 1 degree bronchi. Okay, from primary 1 degree bronchi to the secondary bronchi. Now to secondary bronchi to tertiary bronchi, to terminal bronchioles, terminal bronchioles to thin irregular wall. Yesterday I have uploaded a shot of the alveoli. Okay, just see that. Thin irregular wall, vascularized bag, vascularized like structure called alveoli. Okay, now what happens, each lungs contains 150 million of alveoli. So both the lungs contain approx 300 million alveoli. Okay. Now comes to the respiratory system. What is the respiratory system? Comes to the respiratory system. So give it a heading as respiratory system. Respiratory system. Okay, so in the respiratory system, what we have studied, the conducting part and the exchanging part. Okay, it can be divided into two. The conducting part, one is conducting part, and this exchange or the respiratory part. Okay, now in the conducting part, external nostrils to terminal bronchiole, external nostrils to terminal bronchioles. Okay, and on the exchanging part, the alveoli and their ducts, Okay, now it conducts atmospheric air to alveoli. Now clears foreign particles. Humidifies air. So brings air to body temperature. Okay, now respiratory part. What is the function of the respiratory part? I have already said you. The function of the respiratory part is the site of actual diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Actual diffusion of oxygen and CO2. Okay, now in another two, we can write lungs are situated in the thoracic chamber, which is anatomically a tight chamber. The thoracic chamber is anatomically a tight chamber. Thoracic chamber, that is anatomically tight chamber. Again, any change in the volume of the chamber, we can say any change in the volume of the thoracic cavity will be reflected in lungs, in pulmonary cavity. Okay, in the lecture I have already said why the change in the volume can affect the change in the pressure of the thoracic pulmonary cavity. So I have explained those all of things in my lectures. Okay, now steps of respiration. What are the steps of respiration? So steps of respiration contains breathing. First one is breathing, that is intake of CO2 and exhalation of intake of oxygen and exhalation of CO2. Okay, sorry. Now the next is diffusion of gases. Okay. Third is transport of gases by blood. Diffusion of gases between blood and tissues. Utilization of oxygen by cells and deriving energy. Okay, these are the steps of respiration. These steps are being followed by the respirations. Okay, now mechanism of breathing. Come to the mechanism of breathing. So what I have taught in the mechanism of breathing? Mechanism of breathing. Okay. Mechanism of breathing. Mechanism of breathing. What happens in the mechanism of breathing? Okay, the mechanism of breathing contains inspiration, inspiration and expiration. Okay, inspiration and expiration. Inspiration contains, what happens in inspiration? The atmospheric air moves inside the lungs. Okay, atmospheric air moves in. Okay, now what happens next? There is a negative pressure. There is a negative pressure in the lungs with respect to atmospheric pressure, ATM pressure. Probably in the chemistry you have already learned the atmospheric pressure. The atmospheric pressure is said as ATM. Okay. Diaphragm contracts. Diaphragm contracts. Increases volume of anterior posterior axis. Increases volume of anterior and posterior axis, AP axis. And in the fourth, the intrapulmonary pressure, the external intercostal muscle contracts. External intercostal muscle contracts. Ribs / sternum moves upward, which increases the volume of the thoracic chamber, Intrapulmonary pressure is decreased. Intrapulmonary pressure decreased. Okay, now take it as a note here. We have the ability to increase or decrease. 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 We have the ability to increase or decrease the strength of the breathing. We have the ability to increase or decrease the strength of breathing. Strength of breathing by with the help of the additional muscle in the abdomen. Healthy man breathes about 12 to 16 times per minute. Okay, a healthy man by strength of breathing with the help of additional muscle. Normal respiratory rate, normal RR is 12 to 16 per minute. Okay, this is very important, just remember it. Okay, now expiration. Alveolar air is released out. In expiration, we release out the alveolar air. That is, the carbon dioxide is released out. Alveolar air released out. Now, intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure is higher than the atmospheric pressure. So, in the next, relaxation of the diaphragm. Relaxation of the diaphragm. Intrapulmonary pressure is increased. Intrapulmonary pressure is increased. So what happens? Causes the expulsion of air from the lungs. Causes the expulsion of air. The expulsion of air from the lungs. Okay, expulsion of air from the lungs. Okay, now comes to the respiratory volumes and the capacities. These are important for the NEET. Okay, the respiratory volumes and the capacities. Give it a heading: the respiratory volumes, the respiratory volumes and capacities. Respiratory volume and capacities. I have already said you. Still, I am writing. One is the tidal volume, the TV, that is 500 ml. Two is IRV. Explanation has been given. These are only writing the values. Okay, 2500 to 3000 ml. Third one is ERV, that is 1000 ml. Fourth one is residual volume, that is 1100 to 1200 ml approx. Five is IC, the inspiratory capacity. It is the summation of TV plus IRV. The expiratory capacity is EC. It is a summation of TV plus ERV. Okay. Functional residual capacities, FRC, it is a summation of ERV plus RV or ERV, ERV plus RV. And the eighth one is vital capacity, that is ERV plus TV plus IRV. Okay, the 9 one is the total lung capacities. The total lung capacity is RV plus TV plus ERV plus IRV plus both the same. Or TLC can be also be said as VC plus RV. VC plus RV. This is the VC and plus the RV. Okay. Now we comes to the exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. We come to the exchange of gases. Exchange of gases is based on, I'm writing it with red because these are important. It is based on pressure and concentration gradient. Okay, pressure is contributed by an individual gas or in a mixture of gases, as partial pressure as the partial pressure. Okay, and is denoted as PO2 and PCO2. Okay, for O2 and CO2 respectively. The third point is as the solubility of CO2 is as the solubility of CO2 is 20 to 25 times, as a solubility 20 to 25 times higher than the oxygen, higher than oxygen. What happens? CO2 can diffuse through the diffusion membrane per unit difference in partial pressure is much higher compared with respect to O2, is much higher with respect to O2. Okay, now diffusion membrane is made up of 3 layers. Okay, now the diffusion membrane is made up of 3 layers. Okay, the diffusion membrane is made up of 3 layers. The 3 layers are thin squamous epithelial layer, epithelial wall. The 2 is endothelium of alveolar capillaries. The third is the basement substance, the basement substance between them. The basement substances between the alveolar capillaries. I have drawn it with yellow colors. Just see the notes or videos in my previous lectures. You will get it. Okay. And the third one is its total thickness. Its total thickness. See, I am not giving the PDF or uploading the PDF because I want to make you write by hearing the notes. Okay, hearing the video, if you write these notes, the one time single time writing makes hearing of 10 times. Okay, so hear the notes, understand the mechanism and write it down on your own. ये PDF डाल के PDF प्रिंट आउट करके कुछ फायदा नहीं मिलेगा तुम लोगों को एग्जाम में, कुछ फायदा नहीं मिलेगा. जितना बार तुम ये वीडियोस को सुनोगे उतने बार तुम लिखोगे तो बहुत फायदा मिलेगा. MCQs में भी अच्छा होगा. ठीक है. That was my secret of success. Hear once, write 2-3 times. Finish. Make mock test इतना ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस करो, इतना ज़्यादा mock test प्रैक्टिस करो कि जो फाइनल एग्जाम है ना वो mock test की जैसा हो जाए. Its total thickness is less than total thickness less than 1 millimeter. Hence every condition is favorable for respiration in our body. Condition is favorable for respiration in our body. Okay. Now we come to the last part as transport of gases. Transport of gases. Okay. Give it a heading. Transport of gases. So in transport of the gases is a very important thing. Very, very important. Okay. Transport of oxygen. First, the transport of oxygen. Transport of oxygen. Okay. Oxygen contains 97% in RBC and plus 3% in plasma. 97% in RBC and 3% in plasma. Okay. Now oxygen binds to hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. Reversible reaction. This is a reversible reaction. Okay. Factors responsible for binding of O2, PO2, PCO2, hydrogen ion concentration, H plus ion concentration. Okay. And temperature. These are responsible for oxygen dissociation curve. The oxygen dissociation curve. Oxygen dissociation curve is sigmoid. Oxygen dissociation curve is sigmoid in shape. Okay, that is graph. ऑक्सीजन डिसोसिएशन कर्व ग्राफ कैसा होता है? ग्राफ बिटवीन saturation of Hb with O2 against O2 against oxygen. Okay, factors favorable for the formation of oxyhemoglobin, in alveoli, high PO2 less PCO2 less H plus less temperature. Okay, these are the condition which is very much required for oxyhemoglobin formation. Okay, the next one is for every 100 ml of O2 blood can deliver around 5 ml of oxygen in the tissues. Okay, now the transport of CO2. This is the transport of oxygen. Now this is transport of carbon dioxide. See, in the transport of the carbon dioxide, CO2 is carried out. CO2, I will write another color. Okay, CO2 70% bicarbonate, 20 to 25% by RBC, and 7% by plasma. Okay, conditions for formation of carbaminohemoglobin, high CO2 less O2 in tissues. Okay, the next one is conditions for dissociation of carbaminohemoglobin. Conditions for what is the condition? Less pressure of CO2 and high pressure of oxygen. Okay, now RBC contain a very high concentration, very high concentration of enzyme carbonic anhydrase. Okay, and some quantity in plasma too, Okay, so I am writing the reaction here. CO2 plus H2O by a carbonic anhydrase forms H2CO3. Again carbonic anhydrase forms HCO minus plus HCO3 minus plus H plus. Okay, now at the tissue level, the reaction forward in the right direction in the tissue. So for the reaction forward in the right direction, and at alveoli reaction forward in the opposite direction. In alveoli, it is forwarded in the opposite direction. Opposite direction. Okay. For every 100 ml of deoxygenated blood, for every 100 ml of deoxygenated blood delivers approximately 4 ml of CO2 to the alveoli. Regulation of respiration. Regulation of respiration. Regulation of respiration. From where the respiration is controlled? Respiratory rhythm center present in the medulla. Another center present in the pons region of the brain. Third is the neural signal from this center can reduce the duration of inspiration. Okay. Now a chemosensitive area is also there. A chemosensitive area is situated where adjacent to the rhythm center, which is highly sensitive to carbon dioxide, and H plus ion concentration. An increase in these substance can activate this center, which in turn can signal the rhythm center to make necessary adjustment in the respiratory process, by which these substance can be eliminated. Okay. By which this substance can be eliminated. Now, receptors associated with aortic arch एंड कैरोटिड आर्टरी, एंड कैरोटिड इधर पे होता है एक और इधर पे होता है एक. कैरोटिड आर्टरी कैन ऑल्सो recognize changes in CO2 and H plus ion concentration, okay, and send necessary signal to the rhythm center for remedial actions. Okay, so now comes to the disorder of the respiratory system. Disorders of respiratory system. One is asthma, causes difficulty in breathing. Two is emphysema. Chronic, cannot be cured easily. Chronic disorder caused by damage of alveoli by smoking. And the third one is occupational diseases. Those silicosis from the factories of cement factories, workers of the cement factories, silicosis, asbestosis. Okay, they must use mask. So today we have completed the respiration and breathing chapter, and in the next lecture we will start from these body fluids and circulation. Okay, till then just take these videos and make the notes, and if you find anything to make me understand, okay, just write comments in the comment box. I will definitely make a short video on that. Okay, please share and subscribe this channel and stay with us. Thank you.